Is this thing on? Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Saturday's edition of the dceu Daily. We continue to examine and ask the question, what's the problem with Superman in live action today? But today we go deeper. We examine what people think. We examine what's going on. And we talk about superhero movies in general and why there's a real problem out there. Because does it mean because the Marvel Cinematic Universe make $1 billion, $2 billion a picture that they're making good movies? No, it doesn't. And we know that. So let's talk about the first film I ever saw. It's this, Superman the movie. This film was not just the first film I ever saw. This was the first Superman movie, superhero movie. This film had a deep, hardcore effect on me growing up. I was bullied at school. Because of the way Chris played this character, you could look into his eyes and you could see goodness. Maybe that's good acting, or maybe Chris was just a stand-up guy. We will never know. But so when I was coming home and I'd been bullied again and my guts were hurting and my face was out here, I just put this film on. It stopped me from wanting to end my life because Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner and Tom Mankiewicz and everyone who worked on this film gave me someone to look up to as a child. And it wasn't just me. My sisters, yes, girls, my sisters looked up to him as well. Everyone, men, boys and girls looked up to this character when we were growing up. Facts. This wasn't even just a character to look up to if you were just a boy. For me, this film may be somewhat dated today, but its core values are the reason why it's an absolute classic. Because it has charm. Because Dick Donner made a very important statement years ago when he made a documentary. He said, I believed to make this film work, you've got to make the love story between Clark, Superman, and Lois Lane work. He said, because if you don't have the charm of the love story, you've got a movie that looks very good. It may look like a great trailer, but it won't be a great movie. It's almost like he's talking about Man of Steel, even though he said this way before Man of Steel. Let's get one thing straight. I love Man of Steel. But as someone said to me once, Man of Steel is a great movie, but is it a great Superman movie? I haven't decided yet, but I do love it. But Superman the movie is the ghost that haunts live action even today. So let's look at the films in modern day that have actually got superhero origin movies and films correct. There's Bryan Singer's X-Men and X2. Without these films, there would be no Marvel Cinematic Universe. Those two films are way superior than anything in the MCU. There's Raimi's Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Again, far superior. These are what we call classic superhero movies. Now, I've selected some here to kind of give you a great example in the more recent history that got it right. So, there's Captain America, the first Avenger. Now, this is a film that Marvel and Captain America fans somewhat hate. Not all of them, but a lot of them used to give this film lots of hate. Maybe they've warmed to this now. This film is full of so much charm, and it really kind of gives you a great example of a young man in the Second World War who's desperate to fight, but he can't because of his size and his weaknesses. So he finds a happy accident. He finds an opportunity to become more than he is, and he does the best that he can do with it. But it's the charm of Chris Evans' performance. In fact, this performance and this performance are literally exactly the same. I've said for years, Chris Evans would have made a great Superman. He's a modern day Christopher Reeve. Him leaving the role was one of the saddest days of my life. Chris Evans' Captain America is extremely special to me. So this is one modern day movie that got a superhero origin movie right. Then we go over to DC. This is exactly how a Superman movie in the modern era should be. Why? Because it has charm, everyone. It has the charm that a Superman movie needs, or any superhero movie needs, as long as you're not dealing with darker characters. When you're dealing with darker characters like Morbius, you ain't going to have much charm there. You can have charm, but of course it's a darker take, it's a dark take on a dark character. So that's a different, Morbius is if you don't like Morbius is a different kind of conversation. This film is full of charm. It shows the hero leaving her comfort zone, and just like Superman the movie, this film has a beautiful love story that actually works. And very few of the love stories in superhero movies today actually work. In fact, I can't think of one since Clark and Lana and Clark and Lois in Smallville. We're not even talking about movies anymore, but live action in general. Gal Gadot and Chris Pine work beautifully together, and their love story is the heart of the movie. As Dick Donner said, if you make the love story work, the rest of the movie works. Otherwise, it will make a great trailer, remember, but not a great movie. So this is beyond a great trailer. This is a great movie with heart. It brings me to tears. From the moment I see little Lily Aspel running out as young Diana, my heart's like, oh my God, that's Diana. And because of that young woman's great performance, she is one of the great child actresses, I think. She's amazing. And I've spoken to Lily before, and she's so enthusiastic about Diana and Wonder Woman. Wouldn't it be great one day when she's older if she plays the next Wonder Woman? I think Lily's got great quality. But from the first scene and the music, it captures your heart. That's what a superhero movie needs to do, capture your heart, because most of them don't do that anymore. Most of them are rather robotic. And this is the great poetry and charm and love that a Superman movie should in fact have. Another one that got it right for me, and this film is kind of not spoken about enough, is James Wan's Aquaman of 2018. Forget about the great VFX. Forget about how great Atlantis looks. It's the charm of this film that works, because this film kind of bases its beginning on the love of Queen Atlanta and Arthur's father. So even though by the end of this film, Arthur and Mera kind of kiss and stuff and they're together, I don't think it kind of works. I mean, it's interesting actually, because the love story in this film kind of works, it kind of doesn't. They kind of nearly got it right, but this is not the beauty of this film. The beauty of this film is that Arthur's place in the world is that he doesn't know what to embrace, the surface level or Atlantis. He's kind of dismissive of Atlantis, but of course falls in love with the place when he sees it and wants to protect above and below. So this is a really great emotional movie about a guy who doesn't think he's good enough to be the king of Atlantis. I love that take. So this is another great way of doing it. Even doing a Superman movie like this would be absolutely fantastic. So these are the modern day superhero movies I really like. There's a lot in my cabinet I can say, yeah, they're good, they're all right. But the ones I've mentioned and I've shown you, they're the ones I think that absolutely got it right. Brilliant. Because this is why I love movies and TV drama. I want to feel a story. I want to feel the art form in my heart. I don't want it just to be in my mind. I don't want it just to tell me, oh, well, this is the real world. This is great. No. It has to be beyond that. So I'm going to read you a thread from someone on Twitter. Now, this is not for me to shit on this person or not to shit on this person. He seems all right. He seems passionate about the same things I am. I'm just going to tell you what I think about this thread. So let's go. Sometimes I wish Superman fans were a little more relaxed and open to giving the character creative slack, instead of pigeonholing him to deity status where something as simple as having him deal with self-doubt becomes somehow taboo. So clearly, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think I'm right here, Nick's Comics and Flicks, at Nick Farina on Twitter. Go follow him. He's great, by the way. He's trying to move the blame for the creative bankruptcy in superhero movies and Superman in general past the blame to the consumer. So he says he doesn't want people to pigeonhole the character of Superman in movies. He's accusing the fans of doing this. Of course, this is not really true. I don't like spinach, even though it's good for me, right? When I eat spinach, it makes me want to throw up. Are you telling me that I have to like spinach, Nick, whether I like it or not? Basically, this is what you're telling me. In my opinion, this is a bad take. It's typical of what happens today where the fans get blamed. So I love Man of Steel as well. Clearly, Nick likes Man of Steel as well. I get it. But I've already discussed early on in the video that is Man of Steel just a great movie or a great Superman movie? We will discuss it. So he carries on. It's almost as though many fans and well-known creatives get uncomfortable when we see too much humanity in him. So it's interesting. I'm assuming he's talking about the Snyderverse. I don't think we saw enough humanity in him. Sure, the parallels are there, but he isn't a Jesus figure. But that's the thing, Nick. To some people, he is. Now, if he's not a Jesus figure to you, and this is the problem with social media as well, people speak universally instead of saying, in my opinion. Anyway, so I wouldn't say he's a Jesus figure, but it's kind of a cool thing for them to attempt to do. But yeah, I don't see that either. But if other people want to see him as a Christ-like figure, I'm okay with that. And by the way, if you are a Snyder fan, Nick Farina, Zack Snyder sees him as a godlike figure as well, as did Bryan Singer. So, he's a product of modern mythology and probably has more in common with Hercules than Jesus. Again, yeah, and again, by the way, Snyder maybe wouldn't agree with that, although I do see lots of Hercules in Man of Steel from Snyder's point of view. Now, this is interesting again. I actually don't see him as Jesus Christ or Hercules. He's not Hercules at all, by the way. This is a character who comes to, it's like you moving to another country as a baby. You don't remember your other place. He doesn't remember Krypton. So he gets brought up by the salt of the earth in Kansas, Smallville. He's learned to be respectful and kind and care about other people. That really isn't Hercules. I'm not saying Hercules isn't a kind character, but this is a really pure-hearted kind of village guy, you know, small town guy. Very, very different. And he has a lot more charm than Hercules will ever will. So I don't get those comparisons either. But if Nick has that opinion, good for him. In my mind, as long as we stick to the mold of a godlike alien who, despite his limitless power, now this is interesting because it's okay for him to be a godlike alien, but he's not Jesus. Kind of need to make your mind up there, Nick. Godlike alien who, despite his limitless power, makes the moral choice to become humanity's protector. In creative choices within those realms are valid. Not every story will be a home run, but let him be super and man. Again, it's kind of disjointed because he's not just super and man. So I think this is an underhanded defense of Man of Steel where he is super and a man, but he doesn't have the heart of Superman. Because Man of Steel really is Superman Begins, and Zack Snyder had this idea of making Superman earn the right to become Superman. That's great. Unfortunately, because it's Zack Snyder, he doesn't make that blatantly obvious within the film. That's why half the stuff we know about the Snyderverse is from his Vero posts and interviews, because he doesn't make things clear in his movie. And if he did, I think people would have stuck with it. That's my opinion. I love Zack Snyder. I love Man of Steel. I love BVS. But we have to be honest here. So he's not just super and a man. This is not really a god. He's not really Hercules. He has the strength. But this is the amazing thing about Superman. This is a really strong guy who could fucking destroy us all. But he has this soft center. He actually cares. Let me quote Superman 2 and Ursa. He actually cares. He cares for these Earth creatures. What, like pets? Oh no, I'm quoting General Zod from Superman 2. And then Ursa says, like pets. So that's what General Zod says. In total shock, General Zod goes, he actually cares. He cares for these Earth creatures. And then Zod takes advantage of that as a weakness. So he may have the strength of Hercules, but he deeply, deeply cares about life and humanity. Now, I'm not saying that Hercules doesn't care, but not like Superman does, because to Superman, every individual life form is fucking precious. You don't get that impression in Man of Steel. Again, I can put a critical eye on something that I love. We see that during the kerfuffle of the fight with Zod, buildings are falling all over the place. People clearly die. There's no way people didn't die. Now, because this is Superman in the real world. And in the real world, Superman wouldn't be able to hold this building up and that building up. And this is another problem, because Snyder and Nolan dared to put Superman in the real world. Here's the problem. Superman wasn't really created to be in the real world. So even though there's tender moments between the brilliantly casted Diane Lane as Martha Kent and Henry Cavill's Superman, there's not enough of that in the movie. And in terms of Clark and Lois, or Superman and Lois, in Man of Steel, there's not enough heart between them. They have some good scenes together, for sure. When he saves her in the spaceship, it's cool. It's a great first meeting. And I like the way that she's involved in the adventure. I thought it was a very clever way of doing it. But ultimately, the love story simply doesn't work, because Snyder wants to focus on the visuals, the alien invasion element, and really isn't interested in the love story. He's interested in everything else, telling us Clark's story, everything else, but he doesn't spend much time on the love story. So when they kiss at the end, I always felt that Amy and Henry looked very uncomfortable while they're having that kiss, and it didn't work for me. The love story does not work in Man of Steel. This will upset a lot of people. This will upset a lot of people for me saying that. So you see Man of Steel, a modern day movie I like, but it got lots of elements wrong. Of course, the killing of Zod we've discussed on this channel many, many times. I don't want to spend too long on it, but you see, this is what I'm saying. Superman in the real world doesn't work because his inherent values and qualities as a character contradict putting him in the real world. You could literally do this to 99% of superheroes in comic books, both in Marvel and in DC, but you can't do it to Superman, because this is not what Superman was meant for. All those people angry with Snyder are angry for specific reasons. So even though I love Man of Steel, I understand their many critiques of what Snyder, Nolan, and Goya did. And it's really that film and BVS that's kind of got us stuck on this Groundhog Day on how do we proceed with a Superman movie. Well, it's really quite simple. You have to be brave. When Richard Donner went and got his good friend Tom Mankiewicz to rewrite the script for Superman the movie, they weren't scared. They didn't even know how they were going to make the guy fly. They had to invent techniques to do it. But they weren't afraid, they just did it. And they made a great movie that stands the test of time today. In fact, when Superman is flying after that rocket, that fucking VFX stands up today. A lot of it's a bit ropey, but still looks amazing, by the way. But that doesn't look ropey. It's powerful because of what Donner and the new techniques that they used and his special effects people. But Christopher Reeve was the greatest special effects of all. This is the problem, because the flying in Superman the movie is brilliant. Reeve was actually a part-time glider pilot as well. He knew how to move his body, and he did it in the right way. Reeve was magic to Superman. And when are you going to find someone like Christopher Reeve, who was a glider pilot, who really got... You see, in his performance, Chris really understood how important Superman was, because in the mid-70s, Superman was a lot more relevant to people then than he is now. And so everybody knew what they were making was big. And if they fucked it up, it would be terrible. It would be blasphemy to the people of America and the world who have read him and watched him already. He'd been in radio dramas, radio plays. He was one of the, George Reeves' Superman show was one of the first things ever to be on a new medium of television. Yes, Superman has always been a groundbreaking force. So they weren't scared to do it. But you're always lucky if you're the first, because that means there's not much to compare it to. Because even though the radio dramas, the George Reeves and the little matinees they used to put in between other movies were good for the times, they weren't the gold standard. But Superman the movie is still the gold standard today. A lot of people say that Zack Snyder is the blueprint. Well, then where's the movie? He is. Because of his work, Alan Heinberg's work, and Patty Jenkins' work on the first Wonder Woman. I think Patty probably injected the charm into this movie. Alan Heinberg, the Wonder Woman knowledge, because he was a Wonder Woman writer. And Zack Snyder, the great choreography and visuals. So you had three people who had different qualities to add to this film. Maybe that's the kind of thing we need again. A great director who can give you something special visually, someone who wants to put charm into the character, and someone who actually had written Superman in the fucking comics, who actually gets the character and the world. But basically, the reason Superman the movie still stands the test of time and nothing has come close to defeating it in iconography and its iconic status is, as I said on the top of the show, it has charm. And this is where we are with the Superman problem today. And in fact, Nick Farino's thread about Superman fans really tells you all. What he's saying is that we need to move aside, let creatives do whatever they want with Superman, and we should be okay with it. No, that's not right, because if that's the case, we would have accepted Justice League and we would never have seen the Snyder Cut. The consumer of food, the consumer of hairdressers, the consumer of anything has always said, that's not good enough. We want you to do better. And quite right too, because if you don't speak up, then nothing changes in life. So as I say, as much as I think Nick's really cool and a really passionate guy, and I'm glad, it's a pleasure to follow him, I don't agree with you, Nick, at all. We don't just have, it's not just that he's a super and a man, or he's Hercules and he's a god. Yes, Snyder's Superman is a god, and it's great to watch on the big screen. I mean, this is a Dolby Atmos TV. Fucking hell, do you get a lot out of it? But it's not just about visuals. It's about the heart. Imagine a movie with Snyder's visuals and the heart of Superman. Oh yeah, we got that in Wonder Woman. Why didn't he want to deconstruct Wonder Woman? He never did. He never deconstructed Wonder Woman. He just deconstructed Batman and Superman. This is more about Hollywood's and the extreme left's look at men and toxic masculinity. It's all there all the time. They're obsessed. Where Wonder Woman's a woman. So in their mind, we can't deconstruct the woman. That's how these people work. So it's interesting, and even Zack Snyder has those kind of points of view. He just doesn't come out and say it blatantly. So the thing is here, you just need a Superman movie that has charm. And, this is why I think Nick's wrong about Superman being like Hercules, because that's not Superman. One of the things about Superman is he's blatantly kind. Now, He-Man and Hercules are kind, but they're not blatantly kind. Their kindness and pure-hearted nature is what makes them an inspiration. Let's find the S-Shield, right? Let's just show you the S-Shield. That's the S-Shield, right? I'm obsessed with this S-Shield because when I look at this S-Shield, it's not like looking at Spider-Man's insignia or Aquaman's insignia. As Lois says in BVS, this means something. It gives people hope. Does it give people hope because Superman is like Hercules? No, because this is the symbol of kindness and compassion. And that's how Superman does his superheroing. This is how he does his saving and protecting and fighting villains. He does it with compassion and kindness because in the comics mostly, he doesn't kill the villains. And this was a big kind of bone of contention with the graphic novel Superman versus the Elite that examined Superman's no-kill policy, and by the end of that story, we understand truly, yes, you don't kill those villains so they can come back, but there's a reason why Superman doesn't kill. There's an inherent reason. And this is the problem with filmmakers today. I see it in nearly 75% of superhero movies, the MCU, the dceu. They don't want to understand the process of the source material. Now, Matt Reeves is quite happy to go back to the source material of Batman because it's dark, because it's gritty, and it's relatable, because this is what these directors like, putting these characters in the real world. Because storytellers today are not real storytellers. And I'm not criticizing Matt Reeves, I love the Batman, but the point is, they love going to something that puts their characters in the real world. So the Batman is already in the real world. Batman literally is a villain. He's not a villain. He's a vigilante in the real world. So this would have floated Reeves' boat. And this is the thing today. Snyder likes putting his heroes, in the real world. But it's interesting because when I hear Snyder talk, and people say to me, well, Snyder knows the comics. Well, actually, Snyder only likes the comics that deconstruct DC characters. That's why he likes Watchmen. That's why he likes The Dark Knight Returns. But I can guarantee you, he hasn't read many of the brighter and the inspiring DC comics because he's not interested. He's blatantly said it. Snyder can only be what Snyder is. So you really need a director today that wants to embrace fantasy and wonder and wizardry and kindness and take an audience and let it escape in Superman's world, not our world. That's how it would work. But there's not many creatives like that today. They're all the same. So when you see Superman, even in Superman and Lois, even Tyler Hoechlin's costume slightly dark, a lot of the VFX looks very similar to Man of Steel. And even though it's a great show, and I love Superman and Lois, and at least you've got the family centre there, I still don't think it has enough heart in the storytelling, although it's tried to bring at least some heart. We live in a very disgruntled kind of world today, where everyone's shouting about something. Does the world really need Superman? They asked in Superman Returns, which is a great question, by the way. Yes, today's world desperately needs Superman, especially our young people who are full of hot takes. They all want to fight this, they want to change that, they want to bring the patriarchy down, but they're not living their lives. They're not enjoying their life. They're wearing masks, they're taking vaccines, they're told what to be, they're told what not to be. They're shoved propaganda in their heads. They're not allowed to escape with their movies anymore because there's no escapism in films anymore. My first few films were Superman the movie, the Batman movie of 66, Star Wars 77, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Bond, Live and Let Die. Pure and utter fucking escapism. And oh boy, did I need escapism as a young boy who had learning difficulties, who was getting bullied, who barely spoke until he was 2 or 3 years old, which worried my parents. I needed the escape because I was scared of life. I was scared of adults. I was scared of everything. I had a lot of anxiety as a young boy, and Superman helped me. So Superman and these iconic characters are important if we do them right. And we do have a responsibility to give kids today the escapism they desperately need because they're not getting it, because reality is forced in their faces. And this is why these people don't get Superman and they don't want to get Superman. Ultimately, I think that Snyder made 3 great DC movies. I think his Superman is valid and great, and for many millions of people around the world, we've embraced it. But we're talking about how to make, a huge, successful, great superhero movie with charm. Snyder can't do that for you. So you need someone that can. This studio is so scared to even go near Superman now, they're not even looking for this type of person to make this type of movie. And this, my friends, is where we've gone wrong, and this is where we are now. And these are the elements of why Superman doesn't work in live action. It's not because he's not relatable. It's because they refuse to make him relatable. In 1978, Richard Donner, Tom Mankiewicz, and his team made Superman relatable. This has been the DCEU Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again later on. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.